Hello AP Biology students, welcome to video lecture number 2. Remember we're in chapter 28, which is plant structures, growth, and development. Yesterday we concluded with slide number 6, which was talking about plant organization and had 3 broad categorizations, that being organs, tissues, and cell types. Under organs it mentioned roots, stems, and leaves. Under tissues it mentioned dermal, vascular, ground. Under cell types it mentioned xylem, phloem, and parenchyma. Today we're going to get into the plant organization under the category of organs, and in particular cover roots and touch on stems a little bit. So let's go ahead and move on to slide number 7 if you're following along. In slide 7 in plant organs, we see that the plant organs are divided up into the systems they're in, and there's 2 systems. If you look on slide 7, you see there's an illustration of a plant. There's the shoot system, which is above ground, which includes the stems and leaves, and then there's the root system, which is usually underground, which of course includes the roots. Okay, now let's talk a little bit more about what roots are, what their function is, and just a couple vocabulary terms in connection with them. So what do roots do? What is their function? Their function is to anchor plants, absorb H2O and minerals, store sugars and starches. That's their function. Now, the terminology words that we're going to go over, the vocabulary terms we're going to cover, are root hairs, which by definition is tiny extensions of epidermal cells which increase surface area for H2O and mineral absorption. The other term is mycorrhizae, and that is a symbiotic relationship between the fungus and the plant root, which is beneficial both for the plant as well as the soil itself. And like I said, this terminology here is mentioned on slide 8, and you can actually see a little picture on the bottom of the slide showing you visually what plant roots look like, the root hairs. Now let's go ahead and talk about 2 classifications of roots that are most common, and that is a fibrous root and a taproot. Fibrous roots are mat of thin roots which are spread out just below the surface. They're not very deep, they're very shallow into the depth of the ground, and an increased surface area as a result. An example of that is seen as the picture on slide 9 on the left-hand side, the fibrous root being the scallion. The other major category is taproots. Taproots have one thick vertical root. They have many lateral branches, and they're firmly anchored in, and as well, they also store food. Now, an example of a taproot that we have in the picture on the right is a carrot. All right. Let's move on to slide 10, where we're going to just mention some type of modified roots. So the modified roots that we have are prop roots, storage roots, which as you notice, that's a beet. We have strangling aerial roots, which to me that looks like something out of Lord of the Rings or some science fiction movie. We have buttress roots. If you've seen any large trees before, you've seen these type of roots. And then we have pneumatophores, which is in an aquatic type environment. Now an example of those last ones, the pneumatophores, looking on slide 11, we have a picture of a mangrove forest in Florida. This is an example of those roots that are the modified style. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to conclude our lecture just by touching on the subject of stems. Remember, this is still under the organization of plant organs. Stems function to display leaves. That's their function. Now, there's 2 terms that you'll see if you're on slide 12, that is terminal bud and auxiliary bud. So let me go ahead and first talk about the terminal bud briefly. The terminal bud is the growth that is concentrated at the top end of the stem, and you can see that in the image that's on to the left of the words on slide 12. So what happens here? Well, hormones are secreted which prevent growth of auxiliary buds. So the growth is directed upward towards light. So it basically focuses the growth of the plant in one direction, and that being upward where the light is. Auxiliary buds are located in a V shape between leaf and stems, and they form branches that are also known as lateral shoots. Now, in connection with this, to get these auxiliary buds, or just a connection with this, is pinching/pruning, which removes the terminal bud, so therefore the plant will grow. All right, so there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've covered roots, we've touched on stems, and I look forward to meeting with you guys again in lecture tomorrow. Have a nice day. Take care.